Hi everyone, it's Isaac Smolden, the production manager here at My House. Today's episode of Redemption is going to be split into two parts. Julia and myself are with Lynda Chud, our women's empowerment coach, and we talk about her early life all the way up to when she decides to take a class to be able to teach English as a second language and kind of begin that next chapter of her life. You'll have to tune in 2 weeks from now on July 15th to hear the exciting conclusion to Lynda's story. All right, thank you and enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Redemption Podcast with your hosts, Stacy
and Julia. Welcome to episode 10 of Redemption. This is your host, Julia, and today's guest is Miss Lynda Chud, empowerment coach here at My House. And I'm so excited to have Miss Lynda here on the show. We're going to be talking about her life journey of everything that, all the paths that she's taken that has led her to where she is today.
7 decades worth, Julia.
Okay, fun fact for our audience, which makes you how old?
7 decades plus 2.
Okay, there you go. That context is important because she has, quite, a lot of experience and a lot of different adventures. But before we get started, Isaac, do we have any housekeeping?
So obviously the golf tournament is still coming up on July 22nd. Still lots of openings for teams is what I'm told. A couple spots left for businesses to still sponsor at a couple different levels. So if you are interested in that, you can get a hold of Stacy or just call in to the My House building, 373-HELP, because I always forget the numbers because I'm so used to saying it phonetically now. I think it's like 4357, right? That's what it is. So yeah, tons of spots left for the golf tournament. The cafe is doing iced tea right now for the summer. It's really, really good. So if you haven't had that yet, come in and give that a try. Oh my gosh. Julia
Party
just
foul.
spilled water
Speaking
all
of
over my table
cold
full of
water.
electronic equipment. Okay, so pause.
So sorry.
Glad it wasn't your coffee.
Dang it. Oh, yes, exactly.
This is an extra one. You probably don't even need this one, do you?
That's okay. Left is the direction that
I
it needs
don't
to
need
spill.
water.
Well,
I
you can get
just
some more
need
as long as you
iced
come
tea.
back.
From the cafe.
An actual towel. I just need this to not continue to go anywhere.
No. Insert elevator music.
Right.
So,
It
Lynda,
happens, yeah.
how's your morning going?
It's going well.
What
It's
have
going well.
what have you done today?
Physical therapy. It's my favorite.
Ooh,
Mm.
not for
I love
everyone.
physical therapy. I really do. He has to kick me out every time. I have the most wonderful physical therapist, and he's very holistic. So he's a good friend. Yeah.
What kind of therapy and what
I
for?
have arthritis in my hip, and they thought I was going to have to do hip replacement, but then they said no, it's arthritis, and you can work on that. So I've done a little bit of chiropractic, but now I'm doing physical therapy, wait, there's another spot. Right.
You missed a spot. Thank you. Sorry about that.
I think I'm just going to leave all of this in. I'm going to leave
Oh.
Julia spilling the water in because everyone needs to know what she did
Yep.
to my beautiful, beautiful recording studio. So also in the month of July, can't remember where I was at this point.
You kept that running? You kept that running?
Yeah, it just was going.
Oh, jeez.
So on the podcast side of things, we have, we have everyone's 10th episode is out now. That's pretty cool.
Yay! Clap!
and-
Clap for the 10 episode.
Now that we're like 6 months in, we're definitely looking at kind of what's going right, what we maybe want to work on or change. So I don't know what that's going to look like quite yet. We're still kind of doing the meetings and stuff to see what direction we're going to kind of go to next. But seems like we have a ton of guests from outside the building that are coming up. So
Yes.
make sure you're staying tuned for all of that. And I think that's all that we have going on here in the immediate future.
Cool. Thank you, Isaac. Yeah, I just met a lady in the boutique who's a resilience coach.
Ooh,
Yeah, and she gave me her card. So it's just like
that.
I know you would like her.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, you never know. So very excited about the upcoming, what's coming up for redemption, and sort of broadening the topic of, what redemption is about: healing, hope, recovery, trafficking, of course, and really broadening those topics. So if any of our listeners out there have something specific they would like us to talk about on the show, or get some expertise or advice on, please reach out to myself, Juliah, Juliah, at myhousematsu.org, or Isaac.
Yeah, ISAAC at myhousematsu.org. I think it'd be fun to do like a listener question thing. That's actually one of the things that we've been kind of pitching around. So yeah, if you have questions, send them in.
It'd be
fun.
helpful. It'll
Yeah.
help us gauge what you guys want to listen to. So without further ado, and all spills aside, let's get into it. So, Miss Lynda, we like to start at the beginning because that's kind of where it all starts.
It does.
So tell us about your childhood. What were you like as a kid?
Oh, you don't want to know what I was like, do you?
Well, yeah. Or
Well-
family dynamics. Where are you from?
Okay, I was born and raised in Missoula, Montana.
Boo, U of M, boo, MSU,
University of Montana,
Bozeman,
yay!
Bozeman, baby, boo.
Do you want me to start singing the song?
No, don't
All right,
sing the
all
song.
right. Grizzlies, go.
The Cats won the last 4 matchups in a row.
Me, I have no idea what anybody's talking about.
Sidebar, U of M and MSU is like the biggest rivalry
Yep.
in college football. It's like the most bet on college sports game in the whole year. It's this huge, huge thing.
It's
And
like Palmer and Wasilla.
yes.
Yeah, the Potato Bowl.
Oh, now I understand.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, so University of Montana was my alma mater. I did graduate from college there, but I was the middle child of 5 kids, and I think we were just your typical 50s 60s climate of Leave It to Beaver. Was that the name of that one old TV show that was the classic family? And Mom always came down, appeared in the morning in her little dress and her apron and coiffed hair, and family dinners, and yeah, it was just a healthy upbringing. So
nuclear family lifestyle.
yeah, I was really blessed, after working here for so many years and really understanding the depth of dysfunction in so many families. I count myself really very blessed. So, but it still is part of the path that led me to where I am now.
Of course. Middle child.
So, middle child.
Where is it, was it all boys?
2 older sisters and then twin brothers. So I was the
Oh.
youngest girl, and twin brothers. So, and we're still close to this day, all of us.
So you got to have
Like each
that
other a lot.
younger sibling syndrome with being the youngest girl,
Yeah.
and you got to do the middle child thing too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting little dynamic going on.
It really was. It was great.
Were you a girly girl, tomboy?
I was more of a tomboy.
Oh.
I preferred hanging out with boys because girls were more dramatic. And
I feel that.
And just
And-
finally someone on this podcast that can relate with me.
I can.
I love Lynda being here today.
I honestly felt, when I felt, as the story will proceed, and I felt drawn to really working with girls, helping empower young women, I thought this is really different because I always preferred having boys. As a matter of fact, I had 3 boys, raised 3 boys, and loved it. And when people say, "Oh, didn't you want a girl?" And I went, well, I kind of thought about that, but I loved being a mom of 3 sons. And now I'm a grandma of 6 grandsons and 1 granddaughter who we call Ava Diva. So
she's so cute.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
She is fabulous.
Yeah.
Something about those Y chromosomes in your family, I guess. I don't know. They're
Oh,
taking over.
and her grandkids are the absolute cutest.
They're so fun.
Super rambunctious. We just went hiking this past weekend and up in Hatcher's Pass. Thank you again, by the way, for literally getting me out of bed at 7 a.m. on a Saturday to go hiking. And your family's just amazing. It's just like the epitome of love.
Oh, shucks.
Just overflowing.
We love each other a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. Love always wins,
Yeah. And so not to get too ahead,
Yes.
but getting back to, so grew up, middle child, tomboy, relatively healthy, happy childhood.
Yeah.
Were you into sort of self-help, empowerment, even social justice at that point in your life?
No, that was a vocabulary I didn't even know at that time in my life.
Okay.
When I needed to have what I was going to pursue in college, a major, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I did have a job at what was it called? Vocational rehabilitation one summer, and because I thought, I really would love to help people. So it was in there. But after working that job, it was like, I'm just doing paperwork, and this doesn't feed my soul. But it was so I thought when I went to college, I thought, well, maybe I'll take a degree as social welfare or social work, I think it was called there, not human services. And I don't even know that I took any classes before I changed to elementary education in my junior year. And so graduated with a degree in elementary education and taught 20 years. So I loved that. That was wonderful.
Oh, you have such a playful spirit.
I loved
so,
teaching.
And you just fostered that your entire career.
Oh, Julia, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just
you.
makes sense. That's just who you are.
Yeah.
You just, I don't want to, over, but it's like an aha moment for me that I want to know more about your career as a teacher. What was your experience like? Did you enjoy it the whole time? I'm sure there's...
Yes. Yeah, it definitely has its ups and downs. But backtrack just a little bit. When I graduated from college, I got married that same year. And I left home. The first time I'd ever left home. I think I'd been on an airplane once in my life. And that was to visit my fiance, who was teaching in Alaska at that time. And so I got married, I graduated, and I left home for the first time. So it was huge. It was 3 big things, and we got teaching jobs in Metlakatla, Alaska, which is the only Indian reserve in Alaska. Tsimshian Indians.
Yep, down in the southeast.
The very southeastern part.
Wow.
And we taught there for 4 years, and that was a huge thing because it was a whole new culture. And
Completely.
I was just young and naive and thought, oh, this great adventure, I'm going to Alaska and, marriage and all of this. And it was difficult. It was a lot of adjustment. Talk about transition in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 4 years, we wanted to move up to the valley because it was close to Alyeska. I was a skier. I needed to ski.
Yeah.
So moved up to the valley, and 2 years later started our family. And at that time, I just went, teaching was wonderful, But all I really wanted to do was to be a wife and a mom. That was what I wanted my career to be. And as it was, throughout the years, having these 3 amazing little boys in my life, I was able to, every time they were in preschool, I was a part of the preschool teaching co-op. When they were in elementary school, I was your typical volunteer mom. And by the time they got to middle school, I started thinking about returning to teaching. And I had kind of a rude awakening of the way that I did return to teaching, because my husband was getting ready to retire at that time. And I said, retire, and I'll go back to teaching so that you can pursue some of the things that you want to do with your life. And so we got it set up. I had a year under my belt when I returned, and the next year Jerry put in for retirement. He was, by the way, a very well-loved music man in the Valley. He was a music teacher. And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was a music teacher?
He was a music teacher at Colony High.
Okay.
Yeah. And just
cool.
His reputation still precedes him. There's very few weeks that pass by in my life where somebody doesn't say, "Oh, you're Lynda Chud? You're Jerry's wife?"
Wow.
He was my teacher. Oh, my kids had him as a teacher. And just always just raves, because he was a lot of fun and really had skills that endeared people to him all the time. He was one of those people who always made you feel like you were the most special person, in front of him. He knew how to love well.
Just like how you do with everybody that comes into your trajectory. So you wanted him to retire so he could pursue his dreams, and you were going to go back. So then what happened?
So in December of 95, he put in his paperwork for retirement. And in March of 96, he was diagnosed with melanoma cancer. And in November of the same year, he was gone. It was just that fast. And I can still get teary about it, because he was just a great guy, and we all miss him still. Even his grandchildren, who never got to meet him, and his daughters that married my sons, they all feel like they know him. He's Grandpa Jay. And, So from that point on, the boys were 14, 16, and 18 when he died.
Wow.
And so
That's a very difficult. I mean, any time is really difficult to lose a parent.
Right.
I was 16 when my dad passed away.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's never a right time to lose a parent, ever.
Or the love of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. But, he had instilled so much in his boys. The boys were really good kids. I mean, they had their moments, of course, we all do, but they were good boys. And but I put my head down and just said, I've got to finish raising up these boys and get them through school. And they made it just great. And by the time they were, 2001 was the year that they all got married. Within 6 months of each other. They had found their loves during those years, and one was married in December, and another in March, and another in June.
That's an expensive 7-month period.
But they were boys.
That sounds epic.
Back then, the bride paid for almost everything, and the groom was responsible for just the rehearsal dinner.
I'm making a note of this for my fiance.
Oh, yeah.
Bride pays for everything. Okay.
Isaac
a little
may
late
be
now,
getting
Isaac.
married in August.
Everything. Underline. Okay.
Got it?
I got it.
All right. Yeah. So it was good. And I have 3 of the most beautiful daughter-in-loves, I call them, because they're fabulous women.
They are. They really are fabulous. I've met Marissa. Yes.
And
so,
yeah, and
that's who I've met so far.
the other one lives here in town, and the other one's coming up next week. So maybe, because she loves coming into my house. So
Oh, cool.
I'll see that you meet her.
So can I backtrack just
Yes.
a tiny bit? Because I think
Yes.
this is kind of an important, a really defining or course-changing moment for you. So you were married for 25 years to the love of your life. And from what I've kind of gathered, this was a really healthy, loving relationship.
Yeah, it was.
How did you know Jerry was the one?
Well, I didn't. My mom fell in love with him first.
Oh, well, that means a lot if your mom loves
yeah.
the person you're dating.
My parents both really just loved him. And I thought he was, he wasn't my tall, dark, handsome knight in shining armor. You know, he was just a lot of fun and very, very loved by friends. We had a good group of people that we hung out with, and he was just a lot of fun. I met him in a teaching music methods class in college when I was just finishing up my college, and he came in and he was the only guy in class and had all the women in stitches. You know, he was just fun.
See, score one for guys with personality. Like everyone that's debating in high school and college whether or not they need to take a home ec class. Sometimes those pan out for you. Just like learn
I
how to
think
tell
they
jokes. Learn how to tell jokes.
It's true. You know, let your personality come out and enjoy life. You know, and he just did. He enjoyed life. He loved people. He loved nature. He just was a good guy.
Cool. So that, healthy relationships and learning, what signs to look for is something that I want to, really focus here on the show.
And the other thing, though, was that he made me feel like a queen. From the time we were married, to the time he died, he always put me first. He treated me like a queen. And
you probably reciprocated that.
Well, it's that whole thing of you feel loved. Guys need to feel respected, and it's a wheel that turns really easily because that's what happened. You know, how can you not succumb to somebody who's treating you really well? You know, I admired and respected him and looked up to him and listened, to his advice, and he was 5 years older, so he was like a big brother to me, too. Yeah.
Cool. And so when he so quickly passed away in 96, you said?
Mm-hmm.
What was that grieving process like those first couple of years? What kind of a roller coaster was that?
Grief is such an interesting thing because it never goes away, because there's just a hole, that. Now Julie is starting to get emotional thinking about her dad. It never goes away because you just you're filled with too many memories, hopefully no regrets, but lots of good memories. And, grief is just full of,
it's messy.
empty spaces, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And it's messy. That's a good word to define it, is sometimes you're angry. I mean, the steps of, denial or of grief are all there, but they're not in any order. They come and go, your denial and your anger and your sorrow and your acceptance and all of that. It's just all tumultuous, but I learned, I've just learned to live with a heart of thanksgiving and positivity, focusing on the things that are good and true and lovely and being grateful for what is and what was and what's to come,
And just going through those emotions and the whole grieving process. Mine, I did not deal with it well. I turned to partying, drugs, workaholism, whatever I could do to just, I don't even know.
But it makes sense, Julie, because we just want to fill in the hole, and so that's where I can understand a lot of the kids here, too, who have suffered sorrow or mistreatment, and all you want to do is make it go away. And so the last thing you think of, especially when you're young, is I just want to stuff it. I just want a Band-Aid on it so the hurt will quit.
Right.
And to think about thinking positively when you're angry, or to be thankful when you just want to curse, it's kind of bioproductive, you think.
Yeah, and I was in not to make this about me, but I think that this, with our youth that we have here, the people, your circle, the people that you surround yourself with is extremely significant, especially when it comes to grief, because everybody deals with grief differently. I was in a very vulnerable position, and in that period of my life when my father passed away, it was like the family members that were immediately around me all went in separate ways, and I was by myself. And the people that I chose to surround myself with didn't actually care about me. And I was taken advantage of. And it just sucked all over the place. Yeah. So, for you and for how you dealt with it and how you kind of, carried your boys through the grieving process with Jerry, did you guys become closer? And how did they deal with their anger, their
We were involved with a strong faith community at that time. In fact, people expected me to move back to Montana because my family was all back in Montana. And I went, no, I have a really good family up here, close friends and good support. And so that made a huge difference. You said you were left alone. Well, I was just surrounded with love and support and people who would listen and cry with me, and yell with me when I needed that, and leave me alone when I needed that. So we were very blessed to be surrounded with people who loved us. Yeah. And the boys did well. They all have their different personalities, so they all did it differently. And through the years, even now, it's been 25 years. So we can talk about it, and I go, I don't even remember. How did you do this, Aaron? How did you feel, Brian? What did you go through, Nathan? And so it's always interesting conversation because different things are brought up that we remember, or the dynamics that we had with each other, are
interesting
to be recalled again.
Yeah, in hindsight.
Yeah,
right. I'm sure they just wanted to take care of you.
They did, but they were eager to get on with their life. So there wasn't any sort of a thing where I wanted to hold them back or they wanted to, felt that need to stay with me or anything like that. I never felt that they put their lives on hold for me. Okay. I wouldn't have wanted them to.
Oh, that's really...
Not at all.
That's amazing. Yeah. I really wanted to, I wasn't planning on it, but I apparently wanted to talk about that.
Good.
So Jerry passes. And how old are you at that point in your life?
Man, I was only 46. Jerry was 51. So now I can look back at being at this age and go, man, 46. I have, my oldest son is a year away from being 46. And so it's like, man, that's young. That's young. But like I said, I just worked hard with I had my career. I had the boys, for a certain amount of time, and then it was into career and
the teaching.
My teaching. And we were talking right before class. My other teaching thing was I taught exercise classes. And
right.
That was the other thing that kept me young. got involved in hiking. I was an avid hiker, backpacker, so that was something new to my life and a whole new group of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just assumed you've been hiking your whole life.
No, I didn't. Even in Montana, in the summers, we were water skiers. In the winter, we were snow skiers as a family. And so I really didn't hike that much. So it really began after Jerry died. I just went, we were mainly Hatcher's Pass people because it was easy with the kids and not in the woods with the bears. And then afterwards I went, I've lived here all these years and I haven't been in all these mountains. Time to get up there. And so started a group called Peak of the Week Club, and we took it to a new level. It was great.
And was there a certain, did hiking, did it become a healing thing for you as well? Because that's kind of what it is for me. Just getting out, being active outside in nature, it's very healing. I would say so.
Nature has always been my love, so that's just it's what the Creator has created, and when you're in creation, you're in His presence. So I love nature. Yeah.
And so you worked in the school district or for the school system for how many more years before you retired?
Well, I was trying to do the math, but math is really bad for me.
Same.
So I taught language arts and social studies. The last 10 years, I did a job share with a friend, and she did the math science, and I did the social studies and language arts, which was wonderful. Those were my favorite things. And what was the question? You said,
when did you retire?
I retired. I decided when I turned 60, I said that's a good time to retire. Start leaving this to the younger kids. Because remember, I had quit teaching to raise my family, and so I started back a little later. So I was a career gal till I was 60, and said, okay, it's time. But a few years before my retirement, I had gone to my 40th class reunion, high school class reunion, and met a guy that I had actually gone to elementary school with, and then all through high school. And we reconnected and fell in love, and we're headed towards marriage. And whether I was just runaway bride, because I just when you've had the best, you
can't settle for
when red flags are showing themselves, and so that.
What were those red flags?
Red flags?
Because this man, from what you've told me, he was pretty spectacular.
He fit every box, that if you have all these, he was an adventurer, he was a lot of fun, he was good looking, he was a pilot, and so we would have these fly-in adventures, and he had enough money that we could travel and do a lot of fun things, which we just never really did that a lot. So,
and you're in the phase of your life where it's your time and you can go do as you please.
But I've told you how close I was with my kids too, and they picked up on things that were kind of red flags, and his son was the one that finally led me to the final result of that. And he just said, don't marry my dad. Just have fun, but don't marry him. He doesn't do marriage well. And so I just went, okay. And I let that go. And it was
hard.
real rough.
Oh.
So I ended my 60 years of teaching, and I ended a relationship. I mean, here's a whole transition again with a lot of stuff stacked up, and during that relationship, I had felt I lost a lot of me. I think I gave a lot of my power away. You know what I mean by that.
I know exactly what you mean.
By compromising who I really was deep inside, and so I did not feel good about myself at that 60th year in my life, and so retired, and just kind of went on a quest for the next few months. I spent a month with my family in Montana, a month with a son in Chicago area, and a month with a son in Northern Ireland with another son who was living there, and then another month with a son who was in Boston at that time.
Oh, wow.
And, and I was reading voraciously and just online trying to think of who am I and what do I want to do with the rest of my life.
Right.
And just really on a soul search and listening to the counsel, because my boys, wise men, in their youth even, and listening to them and their wives, because they're my counselors.
Yeah.
And just trying to figure it all out. And I find myself in visiting my sister, who was going to a school in Redding, California. And I went to visit her, and come to find out in that school they had a class called Teaching English as a Second Language. And my adventure, my love for travel, and love for especially being in international places, and this and thinking that missions was always something that was on the back burner for me. Jerry and I, my husband and I, had talked about doing that when we retired, was doing mission work, which just meant going elsewhere and loving on people.
Right.
So,
and teaching.
English is a way that you can go and teach in another country, and people are always wanting to learn English. So I thought, well, that would be a good tool to have in my tool belt for whenever I decide what I want to do. And so just visiting my sister there, I fell in love with what was going on in this school and decided to go to this school.